Hollywood has often been described as a place of dreams, but behind those dreams, there are also shadows. For many child actors, the magic of fame comes with heavy struggles that few outsiders ever notice. One of the most surprising stories is that of actress Hayley Mills, the beloved Disney child star of the early 1960s, and her difficult relationship with actor Brian Keith during the filming of The Parent Trap on screen. Audiences saw the two as a perfect father-daughter duo. But off-screen, things were far less perfect. Mills later admitted that she utterly hated Keith, and while that statement may sound shocking, the reasons behind it explain much more about the hidden pressures of Hollywood. Their clash was not only about personality differences, but also about their very different upbringings, their unique ways of working, and the unusual environment in which they met. To fully understand the tension, we need to explore who Hayley Mills was, who Brian Keith was, and how their worlds collided on a film set that millions of fans believed was full of joy and laughter. The truth is far more complicated, and it reveals how even the brightest Disney magic could not always cover the struggles of real human relationships. Hayley Catherine Rose Vivian Mills was born on April 18, 1946, into one of Britain's most famous theatrical families. Her father was the celebrated actor Sir John Mills. Her mother, Mary Hayley Bell, was a respected playwright, and her older sister, Juliet, was also an actress. Rather than growing up in London's busy film world, Hayley spent her childhood on a peaceful dairy farm in Sussex, surrounded by countryside and family love. Her entry into acting came almost by accident. At the age of 12, director J. Lee Thompson visited her father to discuss a film, Tiger Bay. The role was originally written for a boy. But when Thompson noticed Hayley playing in the garden, he felt she was perfect for the part. Without even a screen test, she was cast. Her performance amazed critics and earned her a British Academy Award for Most Promising Newcomer. Soon after, her fame spread across the Atlantic. According to popular accounts, Lillian Disney, the wife of Walt Disney, happened to see Tiger Bay while sheltering from the rain in London. She urged Walt to watch the film, and soon the Disney family invited Hayley and her parents to meet at the Dorchester Hotel. At that moment, Disney was struggling to find the right girl for his next major film, Pollyanna. After meeting Hayley, he signed her to a 6-picture contract without even asking for an audition. Almost overnight, Hayley Mills became Disney's brightest star. She was praised for her natural innocence, her cheerful personality, and her talent that seemed effortless. To Hayley, Disney Studios felt like a safe, protective family. Walt himself treated her with kindness, and she once described him as a surrogate father. For a young teenager in Hollywood, this was a rare and comforting experience. She was the studio's golden girl. Protected from the darker sides of fame while Hayley Mills grew up in comfort and security. Brian Keith's childhood was far more difficult. He was born Robert Albert Keith Jr. on November 14, 1921, in Bayonne, New Jersey, into a family with show business ties. His father, Robert Keith, was a stage actor, and his mother, Helena Shipman, was also a performer. Unlike the stability of the Mills family, his parents divorced early, and his childhood was unstable. He made his first film appearance at the age of 2, but his life took a darker turn when his stepmother, actress Peg Entwistle, tragically ended her life by jumping from the H of the Hollywood sign. Keith grew up in a world where Hollywood was not magical but full of struggles and sadness. At 19 months before America entered World War II, Keith joined the U.S. Marine Corps. After Pearl Harbor, he trained at Parris Island and served as a radio operator and tail gunner in a dive bomber. His missions were dangerous, flying over Japanese strongholds in the Pacific. He survived what soldiers grimly called the Valley of Death, and his bravery earned him the Air Medal. Returning from war, Keith carried scars that were not always visible. He returned to acting, but unlike Hayley Mills' world of sweet characters, he became known for tough, gruff roles in westerns and crime dramas. His screen image matched his personality: direct, unsentimental, and impatient with anything he considered nonsense. His approach was forged not on stage but in real-life combat. This background gave him discipline but also made him blunt and intimidating. especially to someone young and sensitive like Hayley Mills. In 1961, Disney launched The Parent Trap, a romantic comedy about twin girls who scheme to reunite their divorced parents. The film depended heavily on Hayley Mills, who had to play both twins, Susan and Sharon. Using complex special effects for the time, filming was not easy. It required exact precision, repeated takes, and strict technical setups. Scenes were filmed twice, once as one twin and then again as the other, with a body double used for timing. Even small mistakes meant retakes, and Hayley also had to switch between two different American accents. For a 14-year-old girl, the pressure was enormous. This was the moment when she needed patience and understanding from her co-stars. But Brian Keith's personality was the opposite. He came to set with a nonsense marine attitude. His working style was quick, direct, and based on spontaneity. He disliked endless rehearsals and repeated takes, preferring to move fast. While this method worked in many westerns or crime dramas, it clashed badly with the delicate process of The Parent Trap. Every time Hayley needed another take, every time the technical team required perfection, Keith grew impatient. He did not hide his frustrations, often rolling his eyes, making dismissive comments, or showing annoyance. To Hayley, this constant behavior felt like hostility. What audiences saw as a charming father figure on screen, she experienced as a cold and unwelcoming presence behind the cameras. Hayley Mills was already a shy girl, and the pressure of fame weighed heavily on her. Disney had created a perfect, almost untouchable image for her, which only increased her working under constant technical pressure, while feeling dismissed by her on-screen father, left a lasting wound. Stories from the set suggest that Keith sometimes called her the Golden Goose, mocking her status as Disney's favorite star. There were whispers that he made fun of her accent, interrupted her during table reads, and showed open irritation whenever filming slowed down because of her. Some rumors even described an explosive moment where Keith, frustrated by a mistake, slammed a chair and stormed off set. Whether or not all these stories were fully true, the daily atmosphere was enough to make Hayley feel small and unworthy. Years later, she admitted that Keith made it very clear I wasn't welcome in his space. She also wrote that he was the one person she could never forgive, not for a single act, but for how he made her feel over time. This quiet, grinding tension was worse than one big fight. It was the steady feeling of being dismissed, of being treated not as a valued co-star, but as a nuisance. For a young teenager already carrying the weight of an entire movie, this was deeply damaging. What makes the story more complicated is that Brian Keith was not cruel to everyone. Other co-stars saw very different sides of him. Actress Maureen O'Hara, who played Hayley's mother in The Parent Trap, respected Keith's rugged professionalism and worked with him on several films. Kathy Garver, who later acted with him in the TV show Family Affair, described him as warm, caring, and wonderful with child actors. This shows that Keith was not simply a villain, but a man shaped by discipline and blunt honesty. He often treated everyone the same way, directly and without special softness. To adult co-stars, this could feel refreshing. To a 14-year-old girl, it felt cold and painful. The real issue was that Keith did not adjust his behavior for Hayley's age and vulnerability. He treated her like any other actor, but the result was that she felt crushed by his presence. This difference in perception explains why some saw him as a professional and kind man, while Hayley remembered him with resentment. The impact of the Parent Trap experience did not end when filming stopped. For Hayley, it became one more reason to break away from her Disney image. She felt trapped by the studio's control and wanted to prove herself as a serious actress. When Disney prevented her from taking on more mature roles, she became frustrated. In 1966, she shocked audiences by appearing in The Family Way, a film that included adult themes and even a nude scene. This choice was her way of breaking free from the innocent child image and showing she belonged in the adult world of acting. For Brian Keith, the years after The Parent Trap brought a different kind of change. In 1966, he was cast as Uncle Bill Davis in the sitcom Family Affair, playing a gruff bachelor who becomes guardian to 3 orphan children. Ironically, The same man who made Haley feel unwelcome became beloved across America as a warm and loving TV father. His role earned him Emmy nominations and showed audiences his tender side. Sadly, Keith's later life was marked by illness and personal tragedy. He battled cancer and emphysema, and after the tragic death of his daughter in 1997, he took his own life. His story was as complex and heartbreaking as any Hollywood drama. As the years went on, Hayley Mills often looked back at her time on The Parent Trap with mixed emotions. She recognized that the film was a major turning point in her career. It gave her international fame and made her one of Disney's most successful child stars. However, when she thought about the filming experience, she could not ignore the feelings of discomfort she had when working with Brian Keith. For Hayley, the memories of struggling on set and dealing with someone who seemed dismissive stayed with her. She sometimes described it as feeling like she was not respected. And those feelings did not disappear, even with the success of the movie. It became clear that the professional success came at a personal cost. Hayley had to carry the weight of those memories while the world celebrated the magic of the film. On the other hand, some of Hayley's later interviews showed that she did not hold pure hatred for Brian Keith as a person. She seemed to understand that his personality and background shaped his behavior. Her choice of words often reflected disappointment rather than lifelong resentment. She knew that Keith came from a completely different world, and she could see why their working styles clashed. While the younger Hayley may have seen him as intimidating, the older Hayley seemed to view him more as a complicated man who was not able to connect with her. This perspective gave her story more maturity and showed how time allowed her to see things with a little more balance. Even if the old pain never fully disappeared, for Brian Keith, the story did not end with The Parent Trap. He went on to star in Family Affair, a show that made him a household name and gave him the image of a warm, kind father figure. Audiences loved him, but behind the camera, his life was filled with struggles. Keith dealt with personal tragedies, including the heartbreaking loss of his daughter, which left a permanent scar on him. Later in life, he also suffered from health issues, including cancer, which brought him both physical and emotional pain. These challenges shaped the final chapters of his life, and sadly, he chose to end his own life in 1997. His death shocked many, especially fans who remembered him as the strong and caring figure on television. When we look back at his relationship with Hayley Mills on the set, it is easier to understand why he sometimes appeared so distant and harsh. His own life experiences made him carry emotional walls, and those walls often came across as coldness or impatience. He was not the type of man who expressed warmth easily, especially in a work setting. For Hayley, a young actress craving support, that lack of kindness left a deep mark. But for Keith, it was probably just his normal way of dealing with the world. This clash of expectations is what turned their time together into such a complicated story. Today, The Parent Trap remains a beloved film, watched by new generations who laugh at the twin trickery and enjoy the playful story. Few of those viewers know about the tension that happened behind the camera. The movie presents a world of fun and family bonding, yet its creation was marked by discomfort for the young star. This shows a common truth about Hollywood. The magic that audiences see is often built on struggles and conflicts that remain hidden. Hayley Mills eventually found peace in her career, continuing to act, and later sharing her experiences in interviews and her memoir. Brian Keith is remembered both for his tough roles and his tragic end. Together, their story offers an important lesson about how different personalities can collide in ways that leave lasting impressions. Their working relationship may never have been warm, but it shaped one of the most iconic family films in Hollywood history, and perhaps, in a saint,